Now, as for Testarossa, she was annoyed by the outfield chatter, but she didn't forget what she had to do. The equation of victory had already been completed within Testarossa. What's wrong? You're not coming. With that, Twilight taunted her from above. Without responding, Testarossa's smile quietly deepened. What's so funny? I don't think you're in a position to be so relaxed. Twilight asked, perhaps suspicious of Testarossa's attitude. Testarossa accepted it with a sneer. How laughable. Do you still think you have the advantage? Hearing her reply, Twilight's expression turned dubious. It was an abnormally strong attitude, unlike what Twilight had expected. Sigh. This is exactly why I can't stand those who don't know their place. Sure, I was turned to dust by a single strike from my beloved daughter Ruminis. But that wasn't a defeat. It was just an unavoidable experiment. To test the performance of the artificial dragon form, it was fine to push Testarossa to get serious. However, he didn't expect her to make such a misguided statement, and as Twilight, it was quite disappointing. Guess it can't be helped. You guys, being part of the demon clan, always believe that you're the strongest, so you have a habit of looking down on others. But you know, if you don't develop the ability to recognize true strength, you're going to end up getting hurt, okay? That was Twilight's heartfelt warning. Of course, that was because he was eager to hurt Testarossa here. However, Testarossa was unfazed. She remained smiling fearlessly, as if to say she wasn't paying any attention to Twilight. Twilight was in a bad mood, thinking, this isn't funny. You don't have to act like that. I was going to play with you for a bit, but I'll stop. Saying that, he released his fighting spirit, which he had been suppressing until now. It was, without a doubt, the dragon's Kai. Artificial dragon form is the culmination of Twilight's research. When he studied immortality all over the place, his destination was a dragon species. If he died, his personality would reset, but he was an indestructible existence that perfectly reproduced even his soul over time. But Twilight wasn't satisfied with just that. If this was perfect enough to inherit the core of my being, then he could truly call it the ultimate life form. That's what he thought. Even if memories are inherited, if the personality that utilizes them is different, they cannot be recognized as the same being. Conversely, one might say that even if residing in a different body, if the heart core remains the same, could it truly be dismissed as a completely different person? The foundation of the soul, the most important memories, and the core of the heart. Twilight's research ended there. Using himself as the test subject, the replication of memories was relatively successful. By synchronizing with numerous pre-prepared replicas, he ensured that even in death, his memories would not be lost. It goes without saying that Velgren's parallel existence served as the model for this. Next, about the most important personality, the recreation of the core. This was difficult. Something shapeless. Something that changes with time. The heart was a hollow thing. Unless he was someone like Velzard who could freeze even her own heart, it would be impossible to maintain the same state forever. But since he found a way out here, Twilight's madness was impressive. Velzard-sama, I have a request. Could you use your power to freeze this core of mine? He made that request and took the measure of having his heart core protected by Velzard. On top of that, he allowed his main body to harbor a copied set of memories, and continued to act as he pleased. The synchronization of memories was perfect, and it was undoubtedly genuine. Twilight himself. Even Luminous couldn't tell the difference, which, given the circumstances, was only natural. And now, as the ultimate body, Twilight created a powerful body from Velzard's magicules. It was imbued with a regenerated soul, and had perfect memory synchronization. And that wasn't all. As it had been created from Velzard's body, it truly had the combat ability to match that of a dragon species. No matter how much of a primordial demon it may be, he can confidently assert that it is not an enemy. Besides, even in the unlikely event of an emergency, Twilight's core is protected by Velzard. If he create a new pseudo-dragon body, we can revive without any losses. Well, just in case, not that there's any need. This power is on par with Velzard, so there's no way I'd lose, even if the opponent were the White Queen, Testarossa. With that, Twilight was brimming with confidence. Although the amount of magic energy is incomparable to Velzard, the magic power output is on par. In addition, Twilight possesses his own authority, so there is not a single element that could lead to his defeat. That was Twilight's honest feeling. Twilight's power, that was the unique skill greed, but it's different now. By studying the unique skills he'd acquired, Twilight had gained a complete grasp on their nature, and on top of that, he's unleashed a replica of his own ego, and fused it together as a seed of greed. The now for a unique skill, greed, was drawn to the greediest. Then, through the many hosts, to Maribel. In the end, it was passed down to Yuki. Twilight observed the process. Information had always been synchronized from the pseudo-personality residing within unique skill greed. By analyzing that, Twilight's research had taken a huge leap forward. When he'd been residing in Yuki, he even had a chance to experience the strength of the Demon Lord Gi. He was an opponent who was far too dangerous, so much so that they had to disconnect from synchronization and resort to automatic mode to deal with him. If Yuki had died, that would have been the end of it, but miraculously, he survived thanks to his incredible luck. Thanks to that, he was able to resynchronize his memories. And he obtained valuable information. This is the process by which Yuki sacrifices greed to obtain the ultimate skill. King of Greed, Mammon. It was fortunate that the details of this were revealed. The pseudo-personality of Twilight that was housed within Yuki was manipulated by Michael. Since the synchronization was severed at that point, it's unclear what state it is in now. He'd heard that Yuki was dead, so he probably long since vanished, but that little detail didn't matter. After all, Twilight himself had reached the ultimate level. Ultimate skill. Greed King, among that was the authority Twilight had acquired. An existence that satisfies intellectual curiosity, just as it was set in stone. And then, unable to hold back his desire to know, he tried to see what the result would be. No matter how chaotic the world gets, results are always important to Twilight. What's important is getting results. And then, to develop it and make use of it next. Twilight had spent everything he had just for that reason. Since malice didn't exist there, he became the embodiment of pure vice. This is the divine primordial, Twilight Valentine. He's the ultimate egoist. Twilight would do anything for his own sake, regardless of good or bad deeds. And then, inevitably, he couldn't turn away from a certain question. What lies beyond the ultimate? If even ultimate skills, King of Greed, Amon were sacrificed, what would they gain from it? It would probably be Twilight's true essence to actually carry out that question in an attempt to clear it up. And then he got it. A fearsome outcome that shouldn't exist. Ultimate skills. Lord of Viciousness, Angra Mainyu. This is the ultimate. It was a fearsome power that surpassed even the power of the deadly sins, paired with the power created by Veldanava. The main abilities encompass a wide range, including thought acceleration, universal perception, analytical appraisal, all things creation, skill duplication, skill synchronization, space-time manipulation, multidimensional barriers, and eternal regression. They specialize in creation and research, but they're also unparalleled in combat. The fruits of Twilight's research, the artificial dragon body that can be called its culmination, are also completed by this Lord of Viciousness, Angra Mainyu. As long as Velzard existed, Twilight was indestructible and invincible. Twilight released his dragon aura and intimidated Testarossa. The existence value of the dragonoid form is overwhelmingly high, nearly 10 times that of Testarossa. Although Twilight cannot quantify it, there is no doubt that the gap between them is vast. Twilight was compassed precisely because he understood that. She may be an existence older than me, but after all, she is merely a dweller of the spiritual world without even a physical body. Even though she has incarnated in the material world, I have the advantage. Moreover, my physical capabilities far surpass her. Twilight sneered at Testarossa, who seemed to have misunderstood her position, saying that there was no way he could lose. Thus began the battle between Testarossa and Twilight. A few hours pass. Both of them are alive and well. They're facing each other in midair. What's going on with Feldway? Milim arrived in Sarian, but is she still running amok? How many forces had Luminous's apocalyptic declaration gathered? Will humanity really be able to fight back against the cryptid horde led by Ivorage? And what will happen to those fools who infiltrated the labyrinth? Forgetting all those concerns, Testarossa was focused on Twilight's opponent. The formula for victory was already complete, but it wasn't easy to figure it out. It was Testarossa who could push the situation forward so dangerously. Testarossa was carefully carrying things out so Twilight wouldn't notice. Twilight, on the other hand, also felt something was off. Ahahaha. What's wrong? There's no way magic like that could work on me. He easily drowned out Testarossa's continuous time-delaying nuclear attack. He had overrode Testarossa's magic with his overwhelming computational power. Normally, this would be a shocking level of skill. And yet, Twilight was the one getting annoyed on the inside. What's going on? It's natural that Testarossa's attacks don't work on me, but why is she still standing? There's no way it makes sense for her to hold out against me for several hours. That's right. Testarossa's attacks were all easily nullified. And while she was obviously trying to return the favor, Testarossa was still alive and well. Though stained with blood, she was still dignified and in the air. Moreover, she hadn't lost her will to fight consistently since her first move. White flare. Twilight was swallowed up by the white flames. Tisk, the moment I let my guard down, this happens. This guy was aiming for this from the start. For the past few hours, Twilight had been using powerful magic, as if he'd aimed it carefully, the moment he lost consciousness trying to think about Testarossa. It didn't do much damage, but he couldn't ignore it. Twilight had no choice but to regain consciousness and focus on Testarossa as well. That was the plain, irritating factor. Testarossa. She understood that she shouldn't let her guard down, but the monotonous repetition seemed to have created a sense of conceit in Twilight. It recovers almost instantly, so ignoring it isn't a problem, but the opponent is Testarossa. Twilight understands that carelessness is not an option, yet the monotonous repetition seems to have made him overconfident. Irritation and conceit, the carelessness that arose there. In that moment, he was showered with a powerful blow. That magic stimulates Twilight's sense of pain. It's something that reminds of death. That was only natural. After all, White Flare was the ultimate anti-personnel magic created by Testarossa using her ultimate ability, ultimate skill. Lord of Death World, Belial. Twilight's pseudo-dragon body was instantly dodged, but there was no problem. It completely regenerated, as if nothing had happened. Man, you never learn, do you? I told you that no matter what you do, it wouldn't work on me. Twilight sneered in exasperation, looking down on Testarossa. That's an act to hide his inner irritation. He wouldn't die no matter what kind of attack it was, but he still couldn't shake the worry that he'd missed something big. Something feels off and uneasy. It's the alarm that Twilight's instincts tell him. Twilight, however, ignored it. It was because he'd heard that the white flare he'd just received was Testarossa's strongest skill. A strike enhanced by the authority of the ultimate skill is heavy. Moreover, when it comes to the strongest technique, it is overwhelmingly powerful, on a completely different level from any magic seen before. Even Twilight's proud pseudo-dragon form had its multi-layered protective barrier pierced through and was instantly incinerated. This alone was proof of Testarossa's sheer danger. But that's all. Since even the strongest strike was meaningless, Testarossa had no chance of victory. Understanding this all too well, Twilight sneered with absolute confidence. Testarossa's strongest technique had failed, but her reaction was unexpected. No, that's for Twilight, she added. Testarossa had already taken this outcome into account from the very beginning. Everything up until now had gone according to Testarossa's plan, including the fact that Twilight would get carried away and sneer at her. Testarossa is truly cunning and calm. Even the white flare is nothing more than a single card in her hand. That's how she'd used a wide variety of techniques to keep Twilight's mind fixed on himself, preventing him from noticing the bigger trap. Twilight is definitely strong. There was no mistaking that he surpassed Testarossa in terms of sheer combat ability alone. However, the match was evenly matched. In fact, the board was in Testarossa's hands. That was the difference in combat experience between them. It is rare for Testarossa to take action herself, but she had been giving instructions to her subordinates with her cunning strategy. Her strength lies in possessing the combat sense to make full use of such experience. You really are a fool. Testarossa's smile deepened. The look in her eyes wasn't those of someone who despaired after their trump card was broken. It was clearly someone who looked down on Twilight. It was only at this juncture that even Twilight, who had been so big-headed, realized the source of the discomfort. I see. I did think something was off, but you haven't really taken any serious damage from my attacks, have you? Were you intentionally letting yourself get hit? Unlike Twilight, who heals instantly, Testarossa's wounds continued to accumulate. Though none were fatal, her torn military uniform revealed bare skin marked by numerous discolored scars. There were burns, cuts, and striking scars. They were unmistakably Twilight's attacks. But that's exactly why, if they've been hit by that many attacks, it's unnatural that they're still active. Even if the damage was mitigated, the power of Twilight's technique was not to be underestimated. The techniques unleashed from a body modeled after the strongest dragon kind were powerful enough to slay even a demon lord in a single strike. And yet Testarossa was still alive and well, which meant she'd only made it look like it was a direct hit. Or maybe there's a possibility that she really hasn't taken any significant damage, but no, that's probably not it. If that were the case, there would be no reason to leave a mark. How interesting. What is she aiming for? Because he was invincible, Twilight wasn't afraid.